Hi everyone, welcome back to Kamaudacity. Well, we've just come out of the lockdown. Well, not completely out. It's July 2020. We were on lockdown from March 13 in Jamaica here due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, every country was on some kind of lockdown, some complete, some partial. For us here in Jamaica, we had different stages of it. So there were times when it seemed like almost complete lockdown, other times more relaxed. Right now it's a little more relaxed. It's the middle of July, and I'm looking back now at the whole experience from March till now, and I'm entitling this video, you know, how COVID makes us crazy. COVID driving us crazy, because I'm thinking back at some things that I've observed during this whole pandemic, this whole crisis, and I'm saying to myself, humans are crazy. You humans are crazy. Well, you earthlings are really crazy, man. So I know this is the pandemic itself is a serious matter. It's a serious matter. But I'm going to be looking at some of the crazy things that we have been doing, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, and I understand too, because some of it was just out of just sheer fear, panic, trepidation, not knowing what is coming next, you know, and you hear and the news, because I, for one, at one point I came off social media. I think it was somewhere in near the end of April. I think it was near the end of April, mid-April to May, for about a month. I decided to come off social media because of the whole negativity, and every post was about fear and death, and I decided to come off social media. So I know that much of what these things that I'm going to be talking about, much of what we did was out of just that panic, you know, the novelty of it, unprecedented. That word was thrown about so much, you know, from experts talking about the coronavirus, experts throwing this word unprecedented. Everybody you heard, unprecedented, new to us. So yeah, the average man, woman and child was in panic mode. So the first crazy thing that I observed had to do with the masks, right? Now, persons they weren't wearing the mask properly. I, for one, I don't like anything covering my face. I don't like wearing masks. Whenever I had to go out, I had to put on my mask. Actually, most times I forgot to take up my mask, and I reach way out on the road. I have to turn back to get to my house, because it's just not in my psyche to have something over my face. And I was sick. I remember seeing clips either last year or the year before, from China, you know, where there was this heavy pollution and people were wearing masks all the time and going to work. And I remember saying to myself, damn, what kind of living is that? How could people live like that? Every day you have this thing over your face. It must feel so constricting. And here we were, you know, being told as an everyday thing, a mandatory thing. You have to put on a mask, and it's very uncomfortable for me. And so I often forgot it. I had to go back. But the way that I saw persons wearing the masks and behaving towards the mask and others who had it, and people were making fun that, you know, persons with bad breath, they're going to suffocate themselves breathing in. You see, is a real concern to me, though, having this thing over your face and breathing back in. That is a real concern to me. I don't like the idea of the mask. But persons were making fun and said, boy, what people with bad breath going to do? Because there you have it, you're stuck with your own breath, you know, breathing it in, breathing it back in. And then I was saying, well, if you're not infected, and you're not working around persons who are infected, this was my logic at first. I was saying, why would you need to wear a mask? I was saying, well, for like health personnel, doctors, nurses, and those persons who were heavily exposed, you know, who would be protecting themselves, or somebody who had the infection would be protecting others, then they would need to wear it. So I'm still kind of like on the fence with this mask thing. Personally, I don't like it. I wear it because I have to when I'm going out in public. Alright, so the next issue, the temperature checks. Oh, this was a source of humor for me. I went to this store and I was told, well, we have to check your temperature, you know, because we have to see if you have a fever. I said, okay. I didn't like the idea, to be honest. You know, you go and they're pointing these things at you, and it's like every time you go, you're praying, please don't let me have a temperature, please. One at a time I asked the lady, so what would happen, just in case? What would happen, let's say, if I did have a temperature? What would you do? And she said, well, there's the van over there. The ministry officials would come get you. And I was saying to myself, what the hell? So it means to say, because guys, several things can give you a high temperature, right? But it's almost as if it will be automatically assumed that you have COVID. And they had vans waiting. Can you imagine? I was there every time I went up to have my temperature checked, I was there hoping, please let my temperature be normal. No, I went to this store and the guy, you know, normal temperature in Fahrenheit, I believe is 96, 97 thereabouts. And I went up to the guy and he took my temperature and he said 90. I said, 90, you sure? So he took it again. He said, yes, your temperature is 90. And I'm there thinking now, okay, so I'm dead, right? So do I turn myself into the morgue or what? 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm supposed to be dead. But he confirmed, yes, you're 90. You may go. You're fine. He said you're fine. You're fine. You may go. So I said, okay. So and I still take deep breaths, you know, every time I go, because they're still taking temperature checks. The masks again. Another thing with the masks. you know, there are different types of masks, right? Different levels of protection that different masks give. And I guess those who the professionals who are working on site and being exposed would have a higher level of protection, right? Access to those kind of masks. But the average man in the street now, I was noticing there were persons going around selling masks, cloth masks, right? It's as if, you know, some dressmakers and tailors just got in on the action and say, here what, there's a demand and we're going to meet the demand. We're just going to make some masks. No thought given to how effective are these masks really? What do they really need to be to do? What do they need to be made of? I saw masks made of material that look almost like plastic. I saw masks being made of matte linen, some heavy, thick polyester kind of material. And I'm saying there's no way oxygen is coming through this. And then there was this whole thing now about putting logos on masks, embroidering logos, printing logos. For what reason? Printing school logos on masks. There's this guy who he does embroidery. He makes crests, embroiders, crests for me. And I said to him, I'm gonna need some more crests, right? And he said, listen, the demand is so great, we don't have space, we don't have time to do anything else but the embroidered masks. And I was saying, so people are putting logos on masks, why? So this whole business built up around the masks, and everybody who had a sewing machine was making masks, just grabbing any material, any material they could find, and making the mask without any concern for practicality and, you know, what is the thing? So is it really protecting you, or and is it going to hurt you, harm you? Another thing, the social distancing. Now, so we had a lockdown and we had to stay in for like a week or almost 2 weeks, and then we were told on a certain day, alphabetical order, you could go out. And let me tell you, that first day, did I go out the first day? I probably didn't go out the first day. I went the second day. So like every 3 days we were allowed to go. So I didn't go the first day. I went then the next 3 days after that. And so they were letting in like 10 people at a time through the gate at the plaza. 10 people let in. But there were like 200 persons huddled outside. So I'm saying, which one make better sense? But it's best if you just allow people then to go as they normally go. There would be much less huddling. There wouldn't be any huddling actually, than to say you want to achieve social distancing, so you're letting in 10 people to go in the big plaza, in the big supermarket, 10 persons, and then 200, 100, 200 persons literally huddled outside because they're going by their name. They were told to come in alphabetical order. So they're there according to their name, and they're huddled outside the gate. One big huddle here, one big huddle on at the other gates. Because there was a limited time. It's not like you had a whole day for your name. I think from at first it was like from 8 to 12 or something like that, and then 12 to whatever another batch. So you had to be there. There was no spacing out, nothing. Everybody in that name category was there. And this is the main shopping center for where I live. So you had, yeah, and even in the days after that, when they stopped hoarding, gathering at the gate, they were opening the gate to the shopping center, but still restricting the other stores, the separate stores, and the same thing was happening. So you would have, all right, 10 persons being let in to the supermarket, huge supermarkets, and then 50 people out there outside huddled. They have to be huddled because there's no space. I don't know. To me, it just didn't make practical sense. I understand. I mean, the authorities were. It was pretty much trial and error. As I said, the word unprecedented was tossed around a lot for good reason. It was trial and error, and I would not envy the persons who had to make those decisions. I don't know if I would have been able to make under that pressure, because they were under severe pressure. But from my point of view, just looking on, I'm saying no, something else has to be. This is not working, because you're defeating the whole purpose of what you're trying to achieve here. With this social distance was not being achieved with that heavy huddling outside, and then the sparseness on the inside. Alright, so there was that. And then I don't know, 6 feet. It's so unrealistic to maintain 6 feet in the shops. I mean, wherever, at the ATM, it's just so unrealistic. It's just so unnatural. I went to the ATM on that second day. I spent 2 hours. What would have normally taken me like 10 minutes to get into the ATM, get out, 10 minutes really. It took me 2 hours, and I was in line and again huddled. Yes, we were in mass, but huddled out there because there was no other way. You just had to be there, because everybody was told, come out. If your name is in this, you're in that alphabetical group, you come out that time. 2 hours it took me standing in line, waiting to get into the ATM, and then went to the food. I think I went to the food van after that. Another half an hour waiting and having to maintain that 6 feet. Like I said, I do not envy the powers, the guys who have to make these decisions, but just from my perspective, they weren't practical and they weren't working. Now, another crazy thing, now the taxi men were refusing to carry the nurses. Now these essential workers, the nurses, who had to get to the hospitals, because their logic was the nurses are exposed and they don't know what they're exposed to, and this is this new thing and nobody knows what it's gonna do, and they were refusing. So I guess ultimately measures had to be taken to transport those essential workers in separate vehicles. Because I heard in some countries too, like I think it was in India, persons were actually fighting the doctors and the nurses, beating them up. Crazy. These are persons who are risking their lives, putting their lives on the line, leaving their families behind to go and save others, and yet meeting all of this actual people attacking them or refusing them. Now, we all remember the toilet paper rush. That was a crazy. It was so illogical. I still cannot think of the rationale to hoard toilet paper, to be fighting over toilet paper in a pandemic that is pretty much a respiratory ailment. Wasn't gastroenteritis, wasn't dysentery, nothing like that. Nothing toilet related. Respiratory. And people were hoarding toilet paper. Was it the fear that you're saying? Because fear and grief and these things trigger diarrhea. I know that much. When my grandpa died, because my grandpa, his death was like the first major death in the family. When he died, I remember a relative, I wasn't at the house where he died, and I remember a relative called me and she said, everybody in the house have diarrhea. That night when he died, everybody in the house had diarrhea. So I know that when you're stressed, when there's this tension, when you're depressed, when you're fear especially, worry, can trigger loose bowels. I know that. So maybe it was the fear and people were experiencing a lot of diarrhea. I don't know. I'm guessing because I can't think of any other logic to say, why are you fighting over toilet paper? Why are you buying rolls and rolls and rolls of toilet paper? Guys, there are alternatives to toilet paper. When I was growing up, yes, we used toilet paper, but if we didn't have it, we used newspaper. I had a pit latrine outside. I'm a country girl. Excuse me, guys, I'm a country girl. So where I grew up, if we ran out of toilet paper, we used newspaper. And there are alternatives. I mean, if let's say, God forbid, push come to shove, there was a shortage of toilet paper, there were other things we could do. It wasn't a desperate situation. You can use cloth, you can use napkins, you can use leaves or water. People in many parts of the world don't use toilet paper anyway. They use a bidet or they use a wash pan or something. Many persons don't use toilet paper, so it wasn't a crisis. That I still don't understand. I saw videos of persons fighting over the last roll of toilet paper. Well, luckily for us in Jamaica here, we never experienced that shortage. But like I said, we know what to do if we did run out of toilet paper. Now, there was this thing where if you so much as sneeze, you were like public enemy number one. I remember going into a store, an electronics store, and this poor lady was there. Her allergies were acting up, sinusitis. She was sneezing. You should see the looks that she was getting. Everybody was looking at her like, And this man got so irritated, he took out his, because I don't think she had a rag or a hanky with her. She was just turning her face away and sneezing. He got so irritated, he took out his rag. And he said, here, take this. Everybody was just so on edge. A friend of mine told me he had gone into the supermarket and there was this guy there and the guy coughed. God forbid you cough. The sneeze was bad, but cough. And he made a cough. And everybody would just turn. My friend said, everybody just turned and gave him the eye as if they're saying to each other, should we take him? Should we just gang him and take him in? So it's like, persons would be there trying their very best. Persons who legitimately have allergies. Or, you know, persons who are asthmatic or have sinusitis or stuff like that. They might sneeze, they might cough. An innocent cough. But you would run the risk of, you know, like I said, I was told there were these vans there. These vans waiting to whisk you away. And nobody wanted to be whisked away because, as far as you know, those who were whisked away might not come back. and you didn't know if you were just going to be framed for COVID, you know, because there were so many things circling. You just did not want to be in that, right? So yet everybody was like on edge, or do we need to take you in or what? Because you had persons militant, like in that militant mode. You had persons in that militant mode, you know, ready to take you in if need be, because they don't want to be exposed to you. So they would be calling the authorities to come get you. So it was, yeah, one sneeze, one cough, and you are looked on with suspicion. You are public enemy number one. Declare yourself. So you better stifle it. If you feel it coming. No, guys, I have to laugh. I know it's a crisis, but these things, looking at this kind of behavior, is funny. It's funny. Now the overkill with the disinfectants. Oh my God. You went into the supermarkets, the trolleys stocked disinfectant, bleach, hand sanitizer. I'm surprised there is one bacteria left. I'm surprised there is one bacteria left in the country, on the planet. Guys, bacteria, I mean, it was an overkill. Everything was being sanitized, everything, every second. It was, people were just in a frenzy, a cleaning frenzy. No, that's no way to build immunity from where I'm standing. Some amount of exposure is needed for immunity. If you go around disinfecting everything, you're making yourself less resistant. And I think I could find some documents to back up that point. I don't have it on now. But just from my gut, I'm saying these organisms were here before us. And we have evolved to live with them. It's just a few of them that react negatively towards us. Right? We can't go around killing every germ. And yes, I understand with the COVID, you know, the need for sanitation. I'm not saying don't sanitize, but the overkill, the frenzy. I remember seeing this meme. It was looking at, you know, the manufacturers of the hand sanitizer and the bleach and the disinfectant were smiling on their way to the bank, because trust me, those items were sold out. Right? We don't have to call any names. We know the names. They were sold out. What's my next point? So I think I have 4 more points. Right, so persons were stocking up on food because they were told we're gonna have a lockdown, we don't know how long, and persons can't go without food. Yeah, persons can't go 1 hour without food. So telling them that they're gonna be locked down for even a couple of days, that triggers panic in terms of food, and so they go and they I don't know where the money came from, guys. Did you ever stop and wonder where did people just get all this money from? I didn't have any money to stock up. It's not that I didn't want to stock up. I didn't have any quick money like that to go stock up, but I saw everybody else. You guys were really listening to those persons who were telling you to have your rainy day funds. I wasn't listening. Those words were falling on deaf ears. I didn't have any rainy day funds. You guys were obviously listening, because when you were told that there might be lockdown for however long, you went into rainy day mode and you went under the mattress. You went wherever you had the stash of cash hidden, and you retrieved it and you went shopping. I saw this trolley. I was in the supermarket just to buy my regular stuff because I couldn't stock up. I was there buying regulars. I saw you guys. I saw your trolleys. No. When you bought the food, you bought it with the intention of making it serve you for weeks or months. I know that. You had good intentions. However, you did what I did when I used to go to school, and I brought lunch. I made lunch at home and I brought the lunch, and lunchtime was about 11 o'clock, and I got to school at about 6:37, and the lunch eat before devotion. The lunch was finished before devotion. That's what you guys did. You bought enough food to serve you for like 3 years. Within 3 days, you were munching, snacking. Every minute you open the fridge, every minute you open the pantry door, every minute you open the cupboard because you know the food is there, and you are there living a very sedentary, nothing to do because you're on lockdown, but your appetite was not on lockdown, and so you ate everything, and then you were walking past the mirror and you said, who that? That can't be me. I didn't really gain any extra weight during the lockdown. Like I said, I didn't stock up. I didn't have any money to stock up. I didn't have any rainy day money, any lockdown money. So you guys were putting on weight, and it shows. So the next thing, the family squabbles. No, we always say, boy, I wish I had more time for the kids, for the spouse. And then came the lockdown, and you did have time for the kids and the spouse, but you had too much time. That's a problem. Too much time. Too much of a good thing. It was too much of a good thing. And so the argument started, the quarrel started. Too close for comfort, you know. Too much of a good thing. And then on a serious note though, domestic abuse, domestic violence, sexual and physical abuse of children went up in many countries, including Jamaica. Reports were coming out. People were beating their spouses, beating their children, sexually abusing the children because everybody was there at home, locked in, and their demons came out. They couldn't fight the demons. So we had a lot of